Thanks for downloading this episode of Cork Talk with me, Tim Atkin. A weekly conversation with some of the most famous people in the world of wine. Konstantin Baum is a German master of wine with a well-honed sense of humour. Increasingly famous for his YouTube videos that bring a bit of fun as well as knowledge to the subject. An entrepreneur, journalist, educator and taster, he's a fascinating interviewee with interesting views on everything from influencers to the 100-point system, the value of social media, to why Riesling remains such an undervalued grape. Hi, Konstantin, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tim. Nice to be here.
It's brilliant to talk to you. There's so much we're going to talk about, but just tell us where you are at the moment. I think you're in Germany somewhere. Aren't you in a cellar?
Yeah, I'm sitting in my cellar where I shoot most of my YouTube videos in Baden-Baden, the beautiful town of Baden-Baden, so in the southwest of Germany.
And full of wine, I hope, a cellar?
Yeah, I actually have too much. I currently have an intern, and I asked her whether she likes wine because I'm going to give her a few cases because I need to empty some of those shelves here.
Yeah, I'm very popular with my neighbours. Are you? I mean, I give away lots of wine when I've tasted it.
Yeah.
But let's start. I mean, you speak incredible English, but you're German. You're the youngest master of wine in Germany. Let's just start with a bit of background. You know, how did you get to where you are now? Were you born into wine? When did you get interested in it? You know, what did you study? Just tell us a few of those basics about your career.
Yeah. I'm actually from a city in Germany where there's no wine at all. It's called Bielefeld, and it's kind of in the north of Germany, northern half of Germany at least. And there's no wine, and there's also not really a wine culture. So I wasn't really destined to get into the wine business at all. But after I finished my school, I did an apprenticeship at a very nice hotel in the south of Germany, in Baden-Baden actually, at the Brenners Park Hotel. And that's where I fell in love with wine. And then I kind of did almost everything in the wine business. I worked in restaurants as a sommelier. I worked at wineries and studied enology and business at university in Geisenheim in Germany, in the Rheingau, and then moved to London and worked for an online wine trading company and pursued the Master of Wine at that point.
And was there a moment when you thought, hey, wine is my future? Was there one wine that made you think, I want to do this?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. When I grew up, I was interested in some of the finer things in life. I really enjoyed cooking at an early stage. I had this weird period when I was 16 when I started getting interested in cigars for whatever reason. And so well, I couldn't really afford the good stuff, but I thought they looked cool, and I tried smoking some cigars, and then I actually, as soon as I got into started working at the hotel, I got interested in wine, and we did. They did good trainings for their apprentices, and I started tasting wines, and I found it really fascinating. And then I started buying books and read more about it, and it kind of became my thing at that time already. I was the wine guy. And I obviously had some moments with special bottles that really opened my eyes to wine, but it was really simple, basic wines in the beginning that already interested me.
And now you're based in Baden-Baden. You seem to do so many different things. We'll talk about those in a minute. But how do you divide your time? Are you entirely self-employed? Is it just you? You are the business, basically, right?
Well, I have employees, so I have a team around me now. But yeah, I'm entirely self-employed. I actually am self-employed now for 10 years, pretty much exactly. So I moved back here in 2014 and started my own business. And now I have two businesses. I have an import and retail company called Baum Selection. So we import wine from all over the world and sell it mainly in Germany, but also to other European markets. And the other company is basically a communication agency. So I do a lot of work for organizations like the California Wine Institute, Centre Loire Wines, and quite a few other regional or national bodies. And I do education for them. So I speak about wine, try to get people excited about wine. Most of it is for the press, sommeliers, and the trade. And obviously social media has become a very important part of that mix as well. So yeah, I do lots of things related to wine. But I really enjoy that aspect. I otherwise I might get bored. Sometimes I'm kind of like, I should really focus on one thing, but it's very difficult to say no to some of the things that I get to do. So you know the feeling.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I take too much stuff. I mean, how do you describe yourself? An evangelist, an entrepreneur, a communicator? You're a bit of everything, aren't you? You're sort of a one-stop shop for wine.
Yeah, well, I contain multitudes. But no. I'm definitely not a evangelist. I think I'm a communicator, that's for sure, and that's also what I do on the retail side. I'm not a great sales guy, but I know how to tell a story, and I know how to convey my enthusiasm for products. So that's kind of more key to what I do. I communicate. I'm obviously also an entrepreneur. But yeah, the core of it is really communicating on different levels, in written form, in video form, through pictures. So many different ways to bring my messages across.
Yeah, I like that. You contain multitude. It's the Walt Whitman quote, right? Fantastic.
Yeah, that's
Song of Myself. Yeah. You recently wrote that you often jump into new projects, overestimating my abilities and underestimating the challenges. I suppose, are you a bit of a workaholic? I mean, you like challenges?
Yeah, well, I think I definitely am a workaholic, even though I always also find time for other things. But yeah, I think that's key to success in many ways, that you kind of find the enthusiasm to jump into new challenges. And then once you're in there, you realize, oh, this is going to be much more difficult than I ever thought it might be. But in the end, you kind of, you work your way through it, and at the end you realize you still made it. And I think that's core to being successful. I mean, just do stuff. Sometimes do stuff that is far beyond your abilities, but just do it, and you'll learn how to do it. You'll figure it out, and that's kind of how I approach most things in my life.
I mean, I do the same thing, and I think creative people work well under pressure. It's always good to be slightly too busy. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we also have to look after ourselves and make sure that it doesn't get too much. But it's kind of the same with vines, isn't it? I mean, they also need a little bit of stress to perform to their highest abilities, and that's kind of what we need as well. If we don't get enough stress, we get fat and lazy, and that's also not a good thing. So you need a little bit too much in order to really be at your best.
I think that's right. Listen, you're the youngest master of wine in Germany. I mean, how old are you? Can I ask you? I can ask you. It's not like asking a woman how old she is. But.
I think I have to take that down from my CV at some point. But I'm 42 now, so I've been the youngest master of wine in Germany for 9 years now, and at some point this has to change, but it hasn't changed yet.
Tell us about the Master of Wine. I mean, what made you want to subject yourself to the course? Because how many German Masters of Wine are there? I mean, you, Karen Maurer, I know of. Who else?
Yeah, I think we're now at 10. There's a bunch of us. Not too many. I mean, especially if you compare to the UK, for example, or the US. But yeah, we're getting more and more, and I think that's a good thing. For me, it wasn't really that idea didn't start in Germany, because I spent most of my professional life outside of Germany, but when I worked as a sommelier in Dublin in a 2-star Michelin, the only 2-star Michelin restaurant in Ireland, Restaurant Patrick Guibault, I bought a decanter magazine, and there was an article in there, and it was titled "The Way of the Master." And there were lots of drawings of ninjas kind of doing ninja stuff, and I was into that kind of stuff. So I found that interesting. So I read the article, kind of thought, well, this sounds like an amazing thing. I knew at that point that I wasn't ready to pursue it yet, but I knew this should be something that I should attempt to do in the future. And then obviously I got more interested about it, read more, and I really kind of planned my life around becoming a master of wine at some stage. Yeah.
And what do you know now that you wish you'd known when you started? And what tips would you give to somebody who was starting the program now?
Well, I mean, know what you're getting into, I guess. You should definitely know how challenging it is, and you should also accept that it's not necessarily one of those courses that you just kind of pass at some stage if you apply yourself. This is something that might not work out for you, so you should be willing to go into it, even if you can't finish it or if you can't become a master of wine. But yeah, it's again one of those things where you overestimate your abilities maybe, and then just figure it out. So you really have to be able to learn and to dive deep into it. You obviously have to fill the gaps. So everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and as with every qualification, you have to fulfill the expectations of the examiners. So you have to make sure that you're able to perform in different fields and on different tasks. So make sure that you know what your weaknesses are and work on them. I actually, when I started, I didn't know how to write an essay. I mean, I'm from Germany. I studied in England for a little bit, but I didn't know how to do that. So when I got into the program, I found two other Master of Wine students. One of them, both of them from England. One of them went to Oxford, and the other one went to Cambridge and Oxford. They both studied languages, so they really knew how to write an essay. And I formed a study group with them and exchanged essays. So that was something that helped me a lot.
A support group. Yeah. Just talk a bit about social media, because I think you use social media and YouTube, if YouTube is sort of social media as well, better than any other Master of Wine. I mean, your stuff is brilliant. Just tell us how you developed your style and your voice. It's like you're an actor, really. I mean, you're so good at communicating enthusiasm. It never looks as if you're taking yourself too seriously. I think that's a really good thing. You're conveying knowledge, but you never look pompous. How did you develop the style?
Yeah, I think this was certainly something, I mean, people who knew me before didn't really expect me to be a good performer in front of the camera. I think no one really, even like my family, my sisters and my mother would have never expected me to do something like that. But I really enjoyed watching YouTube videos, and I thought that there is a gap there, because there wasn't, and I think there still isn't that much really great wine content on that platform. So I really attempted to do it, and in the beginning it wasn't good, but I learned how to work with the camera, how to structure my videos, how to make sure that they have a good hook in the beginning, and then have some moments in the video that are funny and that are entertaining in order to keep people's attention. I learned how to pace myself, how to use the speed of my voice in order to draw people in, but also give them time every now and then to breathe, or give myself time to breathe in order to make sure that it's not too much. So I think that there's a fine art there, and I'm certainly not done learning about that yet, but I think it's something that you really have to practice. And I learned so much while doing that. So in the beginning, I was just sitting here in this basement, and instead of talking to you, Tim, I talked to no one. There was a camera, and in the beginning, no one wanted to watch my videos either. So it wasn't like I knew there was a big audience waiting for a video. So that in a way also reduced the stress, because I kind of
no one was watching.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is going to go live at some point, but it's not going to be a make or break situation because no one is watching it. Maybe your family watches it, and that's it. So yeah, by doing that and just easing into it, I kind of learned how to do it, and I think you still see a big difference if you watch my early videos compared to what I
And
do
now.
now.
Yeah.
And I hope in 5 years' time there will be an even better version of me on there.
I mean, I just wondered, is social media one thing or is it different things? You know, we've got X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I suppose YouTube is also social media, isn't it? Which has the most impact for you? Is it YouTube that has the most impact, or you're on all the other platforms as well, presumably?
Yeah, I'm on most of them. I don't use X, for example, but yeah, I mean, there clearly are many different platforms now, and even on those platforms, there are lots of different forms of content. I think the biggest distinction when it comes to video content nowadays is long and short form video, and there already is a big difference in my opinion. So there are some short form video creators that get lots of views, but I don't think the impact is quite the same. It's a bit like watching an ad on your favorite TV show, and then comparing the impact of that ad to the experience that you had watching an hour of your favorite show. There's a difference there, and I think also the relationship that you established by holding someone's attention for 20 minutes. Most of my videos are between 15 and 20 minutes. I think. That's just very different. So even though I have a good following on Instagram, for example, the people who get excited to meet me at wine fairs or tasting events or somewhere out on the street, they usually follow me on YouTube, and
Okay.
that's kind of where the strong relationship comes from. So I think the length of the interaction is quite important. And when it comes to information, I think there's just so much more you can do in a long video rather than in a 60-minute clip.
I totally agree. I mean, tell us a bit more about education, because you talked about you wanting to make these things educational, but also humour. I mean, how irreverent can we be? I mean, I think the Master of Wine program is actually pretty boring in many ways. You know, it's quite serious, and the WSET is very boring and very serious. I mean, you know, how irreverent can we be? I mean, is it good, do you think, to attract new consumers this way by having a bit of fun?
I think I'm not trying to educate the next generation of Masters of Wine here. So that's not kind of my aim. I think I want to make wine more accessible to more people all around the world. And I think by doing it in a lighthearted way, you'd certainly reach more people. If I were too serious, I don't think anyone would want to watch that. And that's also not who I am. So I'm not. I'm German, so I'm not funny by nature. That's for sure. But every now and then I can land a zinger, you know, and that's kind of all I'm looking for. I'm not trying to be a comedian on YouTube. I try to make wine fun, because wine is fun, and lots of people, I mean, like you are also someone who knows that wine has to be enjoyable in order to reach the masses, and people need to understand that wine isn't just for snobs in a gentleman's club. It's for everyone, and it can be a lot of fun, and it can enhance your experiences. So I think making it more fun isn't a bad thing at all.
No, I think there's been a big change. And when I started in the mid-'80s, it still was very much, in England at least, you know, gentlemen's clubs and pinstripes and very male-dominated. And I think, you know, I've lived through it, and you've also lived through it. You're younger than I am. But, you know, this transformation, which has been great. Tell us a little bit about your cellar class. These are online courses. You launched those this year. Who are they aimed at? Are they aimed at the next generation of Masters of Wine, or is it the same people who are watching your YouTube videos?
Yeah, I think more the people that are watching my YouTube videos. So I launched Cellar Class because I thought, again, there's a gap there, that there's not enough high quality online wine education, and there are lots of people nowadays that want to learn online. Not everyone does, I understand that, but many people do, and my audience certainly likes learning through my videos. So I made it with them in mind, and there currently are 2 pre-recorded courses that aim at someone who's just getting started. So that's kind of the first course, and the other one is for someone who's already interested in wine, has been to tastings, but now wants to go deeper and wants to learn more about it, more about the background, do a proper deep dive into wine. And I think we can certainly expand that, and that's the aim. Do more courses, some regional specific for certain regions, some maybe also for the restaurants, young sommeliers trying to learn how to serve wine, so on and so forth. So there are lots of opportunities to expand that. There's also an element there where we do live streams. So it's called Cellar Class Plus. This is like a small social media platform within Cellar Class where people can log on to and post comments, post their recent discoveries, wine discoveries, photos of their favorite bottles, and exchange ideas with others. I'm also doing regular live streams on that platform, on Cellar Class Plus, to talk about different topics, different wine styles, grape varieties, and regions. So I think there are lots of opportunities when it comes to doing proper online education on that topic. And instead of just writing another book about wine, I kind of felt like that is something that the world really needs.
Do you think there's a place for what we might call traditional wine media? I suppose people like me, in a way. You know, I came up through magazines and newspapers. I mean, are we becoming obsolete to that generation of wine writers? I mean, is it now all going to be about video content and less and less about books and articles and magazine articles?
I hope not. I mean, you're certainly also going new ways and trying out new things. So I think that is exactly the right thing to do. I actually purchased your Ribera report and read it and found it very useful. So I think there are ways for written content on wine to stay relevant. I think magazines probably will not go away either. Their business model is just changing right now, I think. So instead of relying on people buying the magazine and making their money from the end consumer, many magazines now rely on advertisements. They do wine competitions. They explore other opportunities like events. And that's fine, I guess. But obviously the role of the magazine also changes. Then they become more reliant on the producers, maybe a little less independent from them, and therefore are not able, maybe not as able to just kind of say what they think, be as critical as they should be. And that might be a little bit of an issue for print. I think there's an opportunity there for digital content because it's much easier to produce a video compared to producing a whole magazine. And it's not as expensive either. So there are lots of opportunities in that field. But obviously there are also lots of people who don't understand their role in this. Many influencers that do silly stuff and are not reliable sources of information either. So
it's going to ask you that. I mean, two things. Somebody once said to me, "There's an expression in German. I did German at school, but a long time ago. That you talk about having scissors in your head. In other words, it's self-censorship.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what you think of influencers. I mean, are influencers a good thing? I mean, I would just wonder whose interest they're serving. Sometimes I look at these things, and I just think this is like a holiday video, produced on behalf of a wine company. It's a form of, I hesitate to say it, but almost a sort of prostitution or self-prostitution.
Yeah, I mean, I'm often mixed into that. I wouldn't call myself an influencer ever. I use the term content creator when it comes to those things. But yeah, I think I'm very critical of that sort of business as well. There are some that do a really great job and they actually add something to the industry, make it more approachable to a younger generation. And that's great. But there are also quite a lot that just, I think they are not benefiting the industry at all. I see memes where people kind of just pretend they are drunk all day, which I find really terrible. and there are lots of accounts with good-looking girls holding bottles into the camera, and I don't really think that that's helpful to the wine industry either. So I think it really depends. There are some that are very useful, others that aren't, and you could obviously also argue that Robert Parker, Jancis Robinson, Tim Atkin, they are all also influencers. They are influencing buying decisions for consumers just through a different medium,
different channel.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the term is just not a great term. I wouldn't. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what you're trying to do. It's not about influencing people. It's more about informing them.
Let's talk about wines and your taste in wines, because people often say to me, "What's the greatest wine you've ever tasted?" And I always say, "Well, there are lots of them, and it depends on the occasion. It also depends who's paying, right?" Do you have a great wine that you tasted and you thought, "Shit, that's really something special"?
Yeah, I mean, there are many, but I mean, one of the best wines I've tasted here in my cellar was certainly the 1863 Burmester vintage port that I just found in my cellar because someone gave it to me, a relative gave it to me, not knowing what it is, and I didn't realize what it was. And I actually called or wrote a friend of mine who's also an MW and an expert in port wines, and he told me that this is from the 1863 vintage, which turned out to be an amazing vintage as well. And I opened that bottle and it was just perfect. It was one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had. And then that video also went totally viral and got, I think it's now at more than 3.4 million views or something like that.
Wow.
So that was quite an experience. But yeah, there are lots of amazing bottles that I've had.
Yeah. Now, we're going to do something unusual today. We're actually going to taste 2 bottles of wine on the podcast, or rather 3, because we've got 1 bottle in common and we've got a Riesling each. So let's start with the Riesling, because we're talking about wines you've enjoyed rather than the thing we're going to have later, which we might enjoy less. Wine writers, wine geeks, we all love Riesling. It's less popular with consumers, I think. I mean, do we need a solution? Should we care that they don't like it as much as we do?
Yeah, I think even in Germany, people don't love Riesling as much as they should. And that's obviously a bit of a shame for German Riesling producers. On the other hand, it's great for us because we still get to buy the best wines made from that grape variety at fairly affordable prices. So that's a good thing for us, but not necessarily a good thing for the industry. But yeah, I think Riesling is an amazing grape variety, and many people have tried making it more relevant. But I think it just is what it is. It's just different. Yeah. It's not for everyone, and that sort of also makes it great. So it's not.
I always think it's a bit like jazz music. I love jazz, but most people don't like jazz at all. They find it, unstructured and don't like the sound and all sorts of stuff. But who cares? I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I was just thinking about how Riesling for me is actually like Bob Dylan. It's one of the best, if not the best, there ever was when it comes to singer-songwriters. And if I turn on my Bob Dylan music, my wife tells me to turn it off. So it's not for everyone.
I found this in my cellar, which is the O'Leary Walker. You could probably hear the screw cap going. 2012 Polish Hill River Riesling, and this is from the Clare Valley in Australia. And I often think, apart from Germany, the great Riesling producers, maybe you could add Canada or something like that in there, but begin with an A. So we're talking Alsace, we're talking Austria, and we're talking Australia. So I thought bring something Australian. So this is my O'Leary Walker Polish Hill. Just pouring. Awesome. You can't taste this, but you're going to tell me what you're tasting at the same time, and we're going to we're going to clink glasses, basically.
All right, let's do it.
What have you got?
So I actually just opened a bottle of 2023. So way too young, but anyways, 2023 Schäfer Fröhlich, Harlenberg from the Nahe. This is their GG or one of their GGs, Großes Gewächs. And it's an amazing wine. I don't know whether you're familiar with their wines, but me being
next
German,
time I see you.
Pardon me?
Next time I see you, we're going to drink one.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I actually haven't. I've tasted their wines before, but I never really realized how great they are. And this year at the VDP tasting, I tasted their wines and really tasted them, and I was blown away by them because they were just absolutely delicious. Great.
Okay, so we're toasting each other with Riesling. You got
Cheers.
a 2023. Cheers. I'm going to tap it on the microphone. I got this 2012. It shows you two things: that Riesling can be amazing young, but this is so fresh. I mean, it's under a screw cap. I know it's unwooded. Just amazing how Riesling ages. I mean, of all grape varieties, white grape varieties, maybe Chenin Blanc in some places, I think it ages much better than Chardonnay. I mean, Chardonnay is often a disappointment with age. So Riesling tends to get better with age, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure you're drinking something brilliant there because I trust you completely. But I think that, I mean, another 10 years on is nothing for a Riesling, is it? 12 years?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those grape varieties that can age for decades and without actually getting older. So that's a beautiful thing. But the wines can also be fairly approachable when young, so you don't necessarily have to age them. But as they get older, they usually get better, the good ones at least. And the great thing about Riesling is also the difference in styles that you can make out of the same grape variety. The light dry wines, more concentrated dry wines, to the extremely sweet Trockenbeerenauslese. You have the cabinet styles in the middle that I absolutely love and that don't really exist anywhere else. I actually discovered Cabinet Riesling in London, of all places, because they're not that much consumed in Germany anymore.
Really?
At that stage, they weren't, at least. And I actually went into a supermarket, a very well-stocked supermarket in London, and bought a Dr. Losen Cabinet. And I loved it, and ever since then, I'm a big Cabinet fan.
Some people often say, oh, well, not some people. Some people occasionally say, oh, Masters of Wine, you're all snobs, you're wine snobs, right? I mean, are we too dismissive sometimes of mass market brands? Do we think, oh, God, why would you bother with that rubbish? And we're going to taste one in a minute because we've both got the same wine. I mean, are we guilty as charged? Do we not understand ordinary consumers sometimes?
I've the benefit that I have the sommelier background, but I've also done the Master of Wine thing. So I can talk honestly about both. And I actually think Masters of Wine oftentimes are more open to tasting these entry class wines compared to the sommeliers. So I think, obviously, this is not necessarily what I love to drink at home either, like entry-level stuff. But I regularly taste wines from the discounters, the very entry-level wines, just to see what's going on in that segment of the market. And there are actually quite a few Masters of Wine also doing that professionally, being involved in that segment of the market. So I think it is a good thing that someone watches over the quality in that sector. If it doesn't have to be me all the time, that's great too.
That's better.
I prefer drinking this kind of stuff rather than €1.99 Chianti Classico from Aldi.
Well, and also, I mean, I don't know about we're about to taste a mass market wine now, and I went down to my local Tesco and bought this, which is 19 Crimes, which is an Australian wine, and it's a blend of Shiraz mostly with a bit of Merlot, a bit of Cabernet Sauvignon, 7% of each. And this is made by Treasury Wine Estates, who are one of the biggest wine producers in the world, and it's got a kind of convict on the label. I suppose he's a convict. I think he's a convict on the label. It wasn't cheap. I mean, it was £10.50 in Tesco. I mean, I don't know what it cost you in Germany, but less, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, I think it was something around €10 as well. Right. I didn't actually buy it. I had someone buy it for me, but
you didn't want to be seen in the shop.
Well, they, exactly. That could ruin my reputation. But yeah, I think I have tasted 19 Crimes a few times before. Never really loved it, but what they do a great job of is kind of the branding, the labeling. Yeah. It kind of stands out on the shelf. So it's certainly something that draws in different kinds of people. And I think also they had this release together with Snoop Dogg, which I don't think Snoop Dogg drinks a lot of wine, to be honest. but still, it kind of worked, and it made wine relevant in a different segment of the market. So why not? Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, it's not a wine I would drink on a regular basis, but let's taste it, see what we think. I know you can't smell sweetness, but it sort of smells a bit sweet to me. I know, but it doesn't.
It smells kind of stewed and lots of vanilla. So, and I don't think they used a lot of new barriques here.
No, I think it's got what Australians call micro barrels. I think there might be some chips or something like that, or staves. Yeah. But I think the thing is that it's probably quite cheap to produce, and it's probably pretty profitable. And I was standing next to a guy at Heathrow the other day, and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "Oh, I'm picking somebody up." And he said, "I work for an aftershave company." And I said, "That's interesting." He said, "Do you know how much the actual aftershave costs in a £150 bottle of aftershave we produce?" And I said, £10. He said £1. He said, and he said, no, 50p. And he said, and the bottle is £1. So £1.50 out of £150, bottle of aftershave. And I think sometimes with wine, we're scared of making a bit of a profit, right? And the wine industry isn't. I bet this is profitable. It's perfectly drinkable.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been around for a long time, and this is certainly not a passion project. There's no one there saying, "I need to make this wine," because it's kind of the expression of this plot of land. It's kind of
it's not.
There better be some money in this. But do you know that you actually can use an app on your phone, and it and hold the screen of the phone against the label, and then this person on the label starts speaking to you through your phone.
Wow. Well, that's good marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of a smart idea of making labels a bit more interesting. I think most people don't realize that, but it's a fun tool. Their
website's good, isn't it? I think it's good stories and stuff. Yeah. One of the videos you'd online was about the 100-point system, and you tasted lots of 100-point wines. I don't know if any of them were mine. I don't give many 100 points. There are some people who give a lot of 100 points. Is the point system slightly silly? I mean, do you use it? I mean, should we be using something else?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely use it, and I think it's still quite important. Many people are actually very interested in receiving that kind of information, and I think that's why the system still is still around. I mean, obviously, you can't convey all of the information about a bottle of wine by just putting a score next to it, and that's where it becomes problematic when it's just a score and nothing else. There needs to be some context around it. But I also think that that a score like that represents a firm commitment to your judgment there. You actually say, well, this is 92 points, and that in a way holds you accountable as well to your audience, because if the audience tastes it and they say, well, this is by no means doesn't deserve that score, then that's obviously going to be an issue for you at some point. Yeah. So I think it is still relevant, and there are good reasons for it still being relevant. But yeah, there's more to a bottle of wine than just a score.
I mean, I'm always very happy if somebody says, or writes to me and says, "I like you because I can trust your scores." I mean, all that means is they agree with me, basically. But I quite like that. I'm sure there are people out there who taste wines who think, "Jesus, why did he like that?" And that's fine too. And I think the audience will find you or will find me and say, "I like what this person's doing, and I like his or her palate," and you go with it, really.
Yeah, and them saying to you, "I trust your score," also means that they trust that your judgment is as objective as it can be, not influenced by anyone else, because you have a great reputation in the industry. So people trust you. And if someone doesn't have that, a score just becomes completely irrelevant, because if you know that the score is bought, the score doesn't mean anything. The tasting note might still give you some relevant or interesting information, but a score certainly won't at that point.
Another one of the videos you did, which I liked a lot, was about value for money, really. I mean, does a £3,000 bottle taste better than a £30 one? And I just wondered, in your view, which countries offer the best value for money and regions, and which are the worst?
Yeah, I certainly think something like Riesling, for example, from Germany, still undervalued. But for me, the best value for money is really coming from the Iberian Peninsula. I mean, if you look around Spain, Portugal, it's just insane what kind of amazing wines you can get, even really well-known wines at fairly affordable prices. South America is also somewhere where you can find great value for money. So a lot of
South
those
Africa,
places,
maybe. I think South Africa.
Africa as well. I'm actually Africa is kind of still a weakness when it comes to my understanding of the wine world, because I've never been there. But yes, I think South Africa certainly also offers great value for money. And the places where it's where that doesn't exist anymore are certainly the classic regions, the well-known wine regions. Burgundy is probably the worst right now when it comes to value for money, even though there's still great value Burgundy, but you have to dig deep. The well-known producers, the top wines from them, they are just oftentimes way too expensive. And Bordeaux, Champagne, quite a lot of those places where there's a lot of demand for those wines. And you could argue those prices are justified as well. They're just they just become too expensive for many people. But if there's so much demand, if those wineries actually sell their production at that price, then the price, I guess, is right. But
good on them, as we say in English.
But it's not necessarily something that offers a lot of value for money. That's for sure.
Another one of your videos that I liked a lot, which was tasting Nordic wines, and you did it in a very funny way. I mean, I've actually been to a vineyard in Sweden, the Blackster vineyard, but I think you did a tasting of all sorts of stuff from the Arctic Circle, didn't you? I mean, how is the wine world going to look in 50 years' time? You might still be here, I won't be, but I mean, what will it look like in 50 years' time? Do you think we'll be tasting more Nordic wines?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, not just Nordic, but Northern European wines are certainly going to become more relevant in the future. I was so impressed by some of the wines that I tasted. Not all of them. Some were truly horrible, but I've done tastings of wines from the UK, which you know much better than me. But I mean, some of the sparkling ones are amazing, but also some of the still ones are getting better and better. But Denmark, Sweden, I think especially Sweden has a lot of potential when it comes to producing good wine. And there are other places like Belgium, Poland, some of those countries that will become more relevant in the future. I'm not sure whether in 50 years' time this will be all we're going to drink, because everything else is going to be too hot. I don't hope so, but I think the wine world will expand to the north, so you'll certainly see more wines from.
And to the south, if you're going to Patagonia, I suppose, in the southern hemisphere, or maybe more stuff in Tasmania, not Antarctica. I don't think yet, but who knows?
Yeah, there's hopefully we won't have we won't experience that period when it's possible to produce wine on
the tundra.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I think I love your overview of the wine world. Is how do you get away from wine? I mean, do you have other passions and interests? You're so busy that do you have other stuff that do you play the guitar in secret? Are you a surfer? I mean, I don't know, what, water skier or cyclist?
Yeah, unfortunately, not a lot of surfing here in Baden-Baden, but yeah, I actually started playing the guitar. So I started playing a few months ago, and I really enjoy that. No one really cares about wine in my household apart from me. So I have to talk about a lot of different topics than wine after I finish working, which is good, I think. I do quite a bit of sports. I work out quite regularly, do quite a bit of fitness. Cycling is something I enjoy. I enjoy reading as well, other stuff, not just wine books, every now and then. So yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty busy. So it's not like I have so much free time, and I have 2 kids that keep me even busier. So
listen, stay as busy as you are, because I love your work. I think your work is brilliant, and I think you bring something unique, but also something very welcome actually to the world of wine, which is knowledge with fun. right? And you make it look like fun. Anyway, Konstantin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
It's been great talking to you. I'll see you very soon, I hope, for a bottle of Riesling. And we'll have to try from different places, different styles, and maybe we'll leave the 19 Crimes on one side.
Yeah, we will. I'm looking forward to that, Tim. Thank you.
See ya. Bye. What an articulate young man Konstantin is, and so fluent in English. Next week on Cork Talk, my guest is Callie Lowe from Porcelainburg in South Africa. Join me then. Thanks for listening to Cork Talk. If you want to read more reports, articles and tasting notes by me, go to my website, timatkin.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @TimAtkin and on Instagram @TimAtkinMW. See you next week.